This is CBN Newswatch.
It is Monday, July 12th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, a blistering heat wave, drought, and wildfires ravaging the western United States, with temperatures reaching 130 degrees in Death Valley. In a sign of the times, China moving ahead with a new type of currency that would change the way people buy and sell.
China has said for a while that it expects to pretty much be a cashless society in the future. So the idea is that cash notes, coins will no longer be around, and that people will be using digital currency that's going to be in their wallets.
Could this be a fulfillment of biblical prophecy? A warning from Israel: Iran may have already built a nuclear bomb.
I can find it hard to believe that a country that's such high-tech developed as Iran, working on it so many years, doesn't have at least one nuclear weapon, especially since they're connected to North Korea.
Why scientists say even one nuclear weapon could have a deadly impact on Israel. And an important new historical display at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., dealing with the development of freedom from government in the Western world and the role played by the Bible. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to begin this half hour in the western United States, which has been engulfed by a perfect storm of searing heat, fire, and a long drought. California crews are already exhausted, while fire in Oregon threatens to cut power to parts of the region. Dale Hurd is on the story.
32 million people across several western states are dealing with a third dangerous heat wave in only a matter of weeks.
It's hot.
It's like you're on fire.
Sacramento, California hit 111 degrees. Las Vegas hit an all-time record high of 117 degrees. And Death Valley reached 130 degrees over the weekend, just 4 degrees shy of the hottest temperature ever recorded on planet Earth. Most of the West is suffering under drought conditions, with most of California under extreme drought. California's governor has declared a state of emergency and is calling on everyone to cut water usage by 15%.
Not only on residences, but industrial, commercial operations, and agricultural operations.
It's brought an early beginning to California's fire season. California's largest fire is burning near the Nevada border north of Lake Tahoe and grew by a third on Sunday. Residents had to be evacuated. Summer began just 3 weeks ago, and firefighters are already feeling overwhelmed.
CAL FIRE to this point has responded to more fires this year than last year. We're going to see a lot more damaging fires. And it impacts us, it stresses our staffing.
It just basically fast-forwarded our fire weather season. Things are going to be drying out up there.
In southern Oregon, the bootleg fire has destroyed at least 143,000 acres. And in Arizona, 2 firefighters were killed in a plane crash. On Mount Rainier in Washington state, the mountain snowpack of almost 3 feet is gone.
I don't recall 100 inches of snow melt. Basically 95 inches of snow melt occurring over about a 21-day period.
The water levels on lakes that supply the region with water continue to fall. In Nevada, Little Washoe Lake is already completely dried up. There are slightly cooler temperatures arriving in the region today, but still hot, and the drought that has gripped the region since last year will continue. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Former President Donald Trump addressed activists at the Conservative Political Action Conference Sunday in Dallas, telling them with their help, the movement would defeat the radical left.
We will secure our borders. We will stop left-wing cancel culture. We will restore free speech and fair elections. And we will make America great again.
Talked about his lawsuit against big tech over censorship, and again attacked President Joe Biden, saying in a matter of months, Biden has brought the country to a near ruin. And he said crime is rampant in democratically run states. President Biden will host city leaders from around the country today to talk about reducing crime. Shootings and killings have been rising across the United States. I want to turn now to Jerusalem, where a panel of nuclear experts have warned about the resumption of the Iranian nuclear deal. As Chris Mitchell now reports, the experts say despite the dangers, the U.S. and other nations seem to be in a hurry to renew the deal.
These experts are part of the World Nuclear Forum, scientists who believe Iran is masquerading its nuclear program as a peaceful effort while maintaining a long-range plan to develop weapons.
It's not just a country that wants to become a nuclear power. It's an extreme religious country with the ideology of the Islamic Revolution to establish a hegemony over the region and even global hegemony, and with the intention to annihilate Israel.
They point out the original 2015 agreement focused on enriching uranium, but failed to address Iran's long-range ballistic missiles or warhead research, while flooding Iran with billions of dollars.
Immediately after that money was released, you start seeing proliferation of terror organizations. It's Hezbollah, it's Hamas, it's the Houthi in Yemen. So you start seeing that immediately. It's clearly a cause and effect thing.
These experts, including a Nobel Prize nominee, believe Iran may already have a nuclear weapon.
How close do you think Iran is getting to a nuclear weapon?
Very close. If not, they have it already. So all of the world, all the superpowers, all looking about the uranium. But uranium is only one slice of the pizza.
I can find it hard to believe that a country that's such high-tech developed as Iran, working on it so many years, doesn't have at least one nuclear weapon, especially since they're connected to North Korea.
One expert predicts Iran would likely negotiate to dilute its highly enriched uranium in pursuit of a new agreement. He believes that's solely to manipulate public opinion and would have no impact.
It's not a problem for them within a few months to enrich to military grade and produce enough bombs to make it a threat against preemptive attack, which is exactly what the North Koreans did.
While some may dismiss a nuclear Iran, these scientists agree that just one nuclear weapon used as an EMP, an electronic magnetic pulse, could destroy a country's power grid and way of life.
Electricity, water, food, supermarket, hospitals. If you have a problem with an EMP, you have a real life problem, even in a great and big country like the United States.
This expert and intelligence officer helped with the 1981 Israeli strike that destroyed Saddam Hussein's atomic reactor. The experts say any agreement needs teeth.
You must have a ready-to-go, well-cooked military option. That's a must for the agreement.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has launched a review of Israel's Iran policy. The review will address if Israel is better or worse off if the U.S. re-enters the deal, how Israel can influence the Biden administration, and an Israeli military option. The review comes before Bennett's meeting with President Biden, scheduled for later this month. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Sir Richard Branson celebrating his historic flight to the edge of space Sunday on his Virgin Galactic rocket plane, a major step forward for private space flight.
The best feelings of my life. I mean, I've waited nearly 70 years for this, and it's been a dream since I was a little boy, building cardboard spaceships, and now to have had this wonderful team create this incredible spaceship and to have gone to space.
The flight helps to open the door to space tourism. Virgin Galactic plans to start commercial service to space next year. Each trip will cost passengers hundreds of thousands of dollars. As private business expands further into space, Goldman Sachs and other analysts have said that the first trillionaire will make his fortune from mining asteroids. They believe that is the next frontier in space business. A sad note, former Casting Crowns drummer Andy Williams died Friday of injuries he sustained after a motorcycle accident back on June 27th. The crash had left him on a ventilator, suffering severe trauma to his body and brain. Last week, he underwent surgery to have one of his legs amputated above the knee after being hit by a vehicle as he was riding his motorcycle to church, but ultimately the injuries took a toll on his body. Williams is survived by his wife and 3 children. He was 49 years old. And an update to a story we previously brought you last month. After a national backlash, the IRS has reversed itself and granted tax-exempt status to Christians Engaged, a nonprofit group that educates and empowers Christians to engage in civic affairs while praying for America and elected officials. The IRS officially rejected the group's tax-exempt status, claiming it was partisan by saying Bible teachings are typically affiliated with the Republican Party and candidates. The group says on its website that it is nonpartisan. Coming up, a major move by China that could affect economies around the world, including the United States, and some say it's a sign of the end times. We're going to take a look at China's move toward a cashless society with its new digital currency. We've got that story when we come back. Stay with us.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
It's a sign of the times. China is pushing ahead to a cashless society. It is creating a new currency. It will be a type of money called a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. It won't be a private cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. This will be a government currency, and it will replace paper money and coins. It will also give the communist regime total knowledge of how the Chinese are spending their money. And as George Thomas reports, that opens the door for unprecedented government control.
The Chinese were the first in the world to invent paper money back in the 7th century. Now, more than 1,400 years later, China is again on the cusp of creating a new form of government currency that some say could pose a serious economic threat to America and the West.
China is about to launch one of the most revolutionary financial projects in the world.
They're not cryptocurrencies. They're not so-called stable coins. In effect, they are the national physical currency of a country, just represented in a digital form.
Eric Bethel is the former U.S. executive director of the World Bank.
Bitcoin near record highs, crossing 23,000.
He says while the world fixates on private cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin,
but the digital yuan isn't a payment system, it's actual money.
Beijing is busy building a digital version of its own currency, the yuan, also known as the renminbi, to control its citizens and eventually threaten the dominance of the U.S. dollar.
They've pretty much created all of the building blocks that will allow a central bank digital currency to flourish.
And Yahya Fanusi, a former economic and counterterrorism analyst in the CIA, says China's goal is to replace cash with a digital currency that's controlled by the communist government's central bank.
China has said for a while that it expects to pretty much be a cashless society in the future. So the idea is that cash notes, coins will no longer be around and that people will be using digital currency that's going to be in their wallets.
That digital currency will also be issued by the government bank, allowing what Congressman Michael McCall, the top Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, says is unprecedented access to people's financial transactions.
This will give them data on behavior, on how they spend.
And giving Beijing the power to track that spending in real time.
There will be a point where the People's Bank of China is going to be able to peer inside of every single transaction that everyone does 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Which means if you are a human rights activist or a Christian, authorities can now use this new technology to punish you if you engage in activities they consider anti-government.
This technological ability is something that the government has never had before. It always had to go to companies to say, okay, cut off this person. Now, the Chinese government, I think, with sort of the proverbial flip of a switch, can make people fall in line by cutting off their access to money.
Eventually, U.S. and other foreign companies doing business in China will be required to use the government's new digital currency payment system.
There's a competitive issue. There are, I'd say, even cybersecurity issues, privacy issues. You're handing over your data to the Chinese Communist Party by participating in this digital currency system.
The U.S. dollar is the world's dominant reserve currency. China's renminbi is number 8. Beijing's ambition is to eventually supplant the dollar's global dominance with the digital yuan.
The big concern is internationally, especially for the U.S., is in the long term, this is an important step. This is what I would call a fintech, a financial technology development. And the issue is that China is thinking decades in advance. It's not thinking about the next 2 to 3 years, per se.
In June, the communist government handed out more than $6 million worth of its digital currency to its citizens as part of a series of trials around the country. The first kicked off in Beijing, allowing residents there to use 2 government bank apps to test digital payments. China then plans to make its big digital currency splash at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. Now that the world's largest authoritarian regime has launched this first-of-a-kind sovereign digital currency, some in the U.S., like Congressman Mike Waltz, worry Beijing will use this form of payment to also skirt economic sanctions.
The Chinese government convinces countries like Burma, Iran, North Korea, and others to do business in that Chinese digital currency. It will also allow China and those countries to work around one of our most powerful tools, which is sanctions.
Based on history, Waltz believes China is only too happy to share the technology with other rogue regimes that seek to enhance their own surveillance capabilities over their citizens.
So that those other countries in Africa, the Middle East, and elsewhere can dominate their people in line with the Chinese version of government. But that data then comes back to Beijing so that they will literally, through facial recognition, be able to monitor the globe.
George Thomas, CBN News.
And for more on this, you can check out commentary and analysis from Gordon Robertson on how this move by China could fulfill the biblical prophecy of the mark of the beast. Simply go to cbnnews.com. Still ahead and here at home, a very special exhibit at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. We'll tell you about these important historical documents, what they meant for personal freedom from government, and how they were influenced by the Bible right after this.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
The Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. has just opened a special exhibit on the Magna Carta, the historic Great Charter of Freedoms from England, first written in the year 1215. The museum's display boasts some of the most precious artifacts in the Western world. And as Jennifer Wishon reports, tourism officials hope it's the type of exhibit that draws visitors back to the city.
Just in time for America's Independence Day, the Museum of the Bible is displaying 2 versions of the Magna Carta and much more.
Everybody knows about Magna Carta, but most people, I would assume, don't know that the first clause of Magna Carta is about the freedom of the church, and that one of the authors of Magna Carta is an Archbishop, Stephen Langton, who is a biblical scholar and used his theological knowledge and expertise to use the Bible to argue against what the king was doing.
The Magna Carta was revised several times. The museum has the version from the year 1300, which was viewed by American founding father Thomas Paine, author of Common Sense, and the 1217 version that started something spectacular.
The 1217 document is one that essentially goes on to become English law.
Also on display, the Charters of the Forest that reestablished certain rights for the lower classes of the period and were issued in conjunction with each Magna Carta. There's also a medieval sword, a replica of King John's bejeweled clothing, and a lawyer's reference copy of early English law. Despite the Magna Carta's message of individual freedom, the exhibit also points out the extreme anti-Semitism of the time. In 1217, the king's regent issued a dire directive,
which made it a law that the Jews in England had to wear a badge on their clothes to identify themselves. And so England becomes the first country in Europe to make this a legal requirement.
The exhibit includes the Codex Valmadana, which dates from 1189. The only known Jewish text to survive the eventual expulsion of Jews from England in 1290.
And so, again, part of our story is that rights need to be defended and justice needs to be continuously fought for.
It's the type of mega attraction tourism officials in Washington, D.C. and cities across the country hope draw in badly missed tourists.
It's exciting to be where we are, but to really look at the economic hit that we've taken as an industry has been a very difficult road.
In Washington, tourism generates $8 billion and accounts for 80,000 jobs. Typically, the city hosts more than 20 major conventions. This year, they'll host 3. Tourism officials are marketing to people who live within driving distance of the city. And Ferguson points out while most cities are open for business, tourists should expect some changes.
Keep in mind that if you're coming to the city and you're traditionally accustomed to going into the Smithsonian or the zoo, which is also a Smithsonian, you now have to go online to get time tickets. So you don't want to show up without a ticket.
And here at the Museum of the Bible, curators are excited to show visitors the biblical basis for the Magna Carta, which inspired the freedoms we enjoy in America today. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, a leading college quarterback calls it a day he will remember forever, the day he was baptized. We'll have the story for you when we come back. Stay with us.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
University of North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell recently took to social media to share the good news he had been baptized. Howell wrote on Instagram, quote, "Choosing to follow Christ has been the best decision I've ever made in my life." And he called his baptism a day I'll remember forever. Howell frequently posts messages about his faith. In May, he shared Proverbs 16:3. "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will be established." He's expected to be an early round choice in the NFL draft. Time now for your Monday motivation, and here's a thought to jumpstart your week. You are built for this. No matter what your this may be, God built you to handle it. And when you feel that you can't, He says you can, and He has the final say. With that word, I pray you will make today a marvelous Monday, and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. And I encourage you to do that on purpose and with purpose. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at the address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Again, make this a marvelous Monday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.